History remembers great battles, but some of the most brutal conflicts were fought in the world's wildest places, the forgotten frontier wars. Here, the enemy was not just the opposing force, but the land itself, an impartial, relentless adversary. Soldiers faced not only weapons, but starvation, exposure, and the threat of getting lost. The land demanded a new kind of soldier and a new kind of war. For indigenous peoples, the wilderness was an ally, not an enemy. Their knowledge gave them a profound advantage. In Australia, Tasmania, and South Africa, survival meant adapting to the wild. The wild shaped the warriors and the wars. For over a century, the Australian frontier wars raged across the continent, brutal, scattered, and relentless. These were not grand battles, but countless skirmishes and raids in deserts and forests. The land itself was a formidable adversary. Endless plains, scarce water, and relentless heat. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, masters of the land, waged guerrilla warfare with deep knowledge. Warriors like Pemulwuy and Yagan struck swiftly, vanishing into the bush. Their survival skills, finding water, food, and shelter, were unmatched. Colonial forces struggled, their tactics and uniforms failing in the harsh climate. To survive, they learned from their enemies, recruiting Aboriginal trackers and adapting to the land. The Australian frontier tested the limits of human resilience. Survival was the ultimate victory. In early 19th century Tasmania, the Black War was a brutal struggle shaped by the island's wild terrain. Dense rainforests, rugged mountains, and unpredictable weather made every movement a challenge. The Tasmanian Aboriginal people were superbly adapted, moving silently through forests and building shelters from the land. Their knowledge of plants, animals, and survival was unmatched. They used this expertise to wage fierce resistance, striking from the shadows and vanishing into the wilderness. British soldiers, burdened by heavy gear, struggled in the dense bush, often lost, cold, and hungry. The infamous Black Line, a massive sweep to corral Aboriginal people, failed as most slipped through the gaps in the terrain. The human cost was catastrophic, especially for the Aboriginal population. Survival required not just combat skills, but the ability to endure cold, hunger, and constant fear. Both sides faced relentless psychological pressure, never knowing when or where the next attack would come. In Tasmania, the land itself was an active participant in the conflict. The Black War is a stark reminder of how environment shapes war. Endurance was everything. For a century, South Africa's Cape frontier was a landscape of relentless conflict between the Xhosa and European powers. The region's dense, thorny bush and rocky hills were natural fortresses, impenetrable to traditional armies. Xhosa warriors mastered this environment, using stealth, surprise, and intimate knowledge of the land. They struck swiftly, then vanished into the bush, sustaining campaigns without conventional supply lines. British and Boer forces struggled, their tactics and uniforms ill-suited to the terrain. They adapted by moving in small groups, learning bushcraft and relying on local allies. The wars forced a tactical evolution. Rigid formations gave way to fluid, adaptable frontier warfare. Survival was a daily challenge. Scarce water, thorny vegetation, exhaustion, and disease. Navigating the repetitive landscape required skill and constant vigilance. The psychological strain was immense. Danger could be lurking just beyond the next bush. Both sides learned to read the land or risked being lost or ambushed. The Cape Wars were a test of adaptation and endurance. The land shaped the conflict at every turn. In the bush, only the adaptable survived. The frontier wars of Australia, Tasmania, and South Africa were more than battles. They were elemental struggles against the land itself. The wilderness dictated the terms, breaking armies and demanding adaptation. Indigenous warriors drew on ancestral knowledge. Colonial soldiers learned through hardship. Survival meant respecting the land, not conquering it. Beyond hunger and thirst, the psychological toll was immense. loneliness, fear, and the constant threat of the unseen. Resilience was as much mental as physical. These stories teach us about the human capacity to adapt and endure. Ingenuity and resilience emerge in the face of adversity. Our relationship with nature is complex and powerful. In the harshest circumstances, survival is the ultimate expression of the human spirit. The echoes of these struggles still resonate in the wild places of the world.